Imagine this scenario. You wake up in the morning, and you know for sure. Today you're only allowed to eat once. No breakfast, no snacks, no quick bites to ease fatigue. Just one meal. And that's it. Just hearing that sounds a bit suffocating, right? Because we're taught from a young age that skipping meals is wrong, that the body needs to eat constantly to maintain energy, to maintain metabolism, to prevent blood sugar drops. But what if I told you, there's a period of the day when you don't eat, and your body doesn't collapse. On the contrary, it switches to a very ancient mode. A mode your ancestors used to survive. And the strange thing is, you can feel it. Not the believe the science kind of feeling, but a very real sensation. Your mind suddenly becomes clearer, your focus sharper, and the hunger sometimes just disappears. But right here, I have to say up front, eating one meal a day isn't some harmless magic cure. Some people find it works and feel like their body is unlocked, but others do it wrong and end up with insomnia, irritability, eating disorders, low blood pressure, or even menstrual irregularities. So in this video, I'm not going to tell you about it as a miracle method. I'll tell you like a story. What a real day is like inside your body when you eat one meal. Each time stage, each internal switch, each sensation you might experience. And at the end of the video, I'll give you 3 very clear signs to check for yourself. Are you adapting, or are you making yourself suffer? Let's begin. Morning. You've just woken up. If you normally eat breakfast, you'll feel like something's missing. Not just because you're hungry, but because of habit. You know, many times we think we're hungry, but in reality, we're just craving the ritual. Holding a cup of coffee with milk, chewing on something, the feeling of a new day beginning. Your brain is used to being rewarded, and this is the first thing that happens when you declare, just one meal today. Your brain protests. Not logically, but reflexively. Huh? Why no reward like usual? You leave the house, walk past a breakfast place. The smell of food wafts in. Your stomach might not actually be hungry, but that smell triggers a memory, and that memory triggers a craving. At work, a colleague asks, "Have you eaten yet?" Someone opens a snack. There's the rustling of the wrapper. That sound alone grabs your attention. You begin to realize, not eating many meals a day isn't difficult because of your body, but because this world is designed for you to eat constantly. But what about your body? Your body doesn't panic immediately. It doesn't shut down just because you skipped breakfast. For the first few hours, it still uses energy from your previous meal. You're still functioning normally. It's just that. About 2-4 hours later, you'll start experiencing the first wave. The hunger comes. It doesn't always increase steadily. It comes in waves. Your stomach rumbles, you think about food, you feel restless, and you might even have trouble concentrating. And many people will say, "See, hunger is unbearable." But there's an interesting detail. If you get through a hunger pang, it can, like ocean waves. It rises, then recedes. Why? Because your body has hunger-signaling hormones that increase in rhythm, and that rhythm is largely influenced by habit. If you've been eating breakfast at 8 a.m. for years, then at 8 a.m., it will remind you, not because you're starving, but because you are scheduled. This is a huge trick. Many people confuse the scheduled alarm with actual hunger. And if you're hearing this, remember, in the one-meal eating model, you're not just changing your stomach, you're changing your biological clock. Then, about 4-8 hours later, something strange starts to happen. You might feel a little empty, but at the same time, your mind is clearer. Some people say they concentrate better. Some say they're less distracted. Some say, "Why am I suddenly working so smoothly?" Sounds counterintuitive, right? But if you put yourself in prehistoric times, it makes perfect sense. When there's no food, the body doesn't want you to lie around. It wants you to go find it. It's like switching to hunting mode, more alert, more sensitive, even a little more tense. A little tension helps you stay alert, but not everyone finds this part pleasant. Some find it refreshing. Some find it irritating. Some find it uncomfortable. And here's what you need to understand to avoid giving up halfway. It's a transition process. Your body is preparing to leave a routine it's used to. Eating provides immediate energy, because when you eat regularly, your body is like a car that's constantly being refueled little by little. It doesn't need to learn how to run on a reserve tank, but when you prolong the time without eating, You're forcing it to relearn an ancient skill, switching fuel sources. About 8-12 hours later, the body starts calculating more seriously. On a normal day, you eat breakfast, lunch, then snacks, then dinner. Insulin fluctuates many times. Energy goes in and out many times. The body is always in a state of receiving and delivering. When you don't eat, insulin has a chance to rest. And when insulin levels drop, the body starts looking around and saying, okay, no new supply, so let's use the old one. You may notice some sensations appearing at this stage. Mild fatigue, slight chills, slight dizziness, or a feeling of something missing. This is when many people collapse, because they think, I'm too weak, I'm not suited for this. But often it's not weakness. It's your body withdrawing from an energy habit. Like someone who drinks coffee every day, suddenly quitting will cause headaches, not because the body needs coffee to live, but because it's used to being stimulated. Similarly, if you're used to running on sugar and sugar is consistently supplied, suddenly sugar doesn't come in, you'll feel unwell. And here's the first mini cliffhanger I want you to remember. If you get through this uncomfortable phase, there's a very strange moment around 12-16 hours, your hunger might suddenly subside. It doesn't disappear permanently, but it changes in nature. You're no longer experiencing that crazy hunger. You start feeling a stable hunger. Like a gentle reminder, the alarm is no longer blaring. And then, you begin to distinguish between two things. One is mental hunger, hungry because of stress, sadness, habit, watching others eat, hearing the chewing sounds, missing the taste. Two is physical hunger, real hunger, the kind where you feel low on energy, weak, and can barely stand. When you eat one meal a day, you'll have to face the question you normally avoid. Do I eat because I need it, or do I eat because I want comfort? Many people realize this and are a little shocked because they discover that what they're looking for in food isn't energy, but the feeling of being cared for. And here's the emotional part of the story. You're not bad for eating because of emotions. Everyone does. But when you understand that, you have the power of choice. You're no longer dragged down by habit. Then, around 4 to 8 p.m., your body enters a phase often described in more scientific terms. Metabolic conversion, ketone production, cellular cleanup. Let me explain it in simpler terms. Imagine your body as a house. Every time you eat, it's like bringing new things into the house. If you bring things in all day, continuously, the house will always be messy, and you'll never have time to clean. When you don't eat for a long enough period, you stop pouring things in, and the body starts cleaning. It recycles old things, broken things, inefficient things. You can't see it with your eyes, but you can feel it indirectly. Many people say they feel lighter, less foggy, and more stable. However, this is a very important point I must emphasize so you don't have any illusions. Not everyone experiences it the same way. Because your body doesn't just depend on fasting. It depends on how you sleep, how stressed you are, whether you drink enough water, whether you exercise, and especially how you eat that single meal. And now, here's the biggest twist of the whole video. Many people fail with eating one meal, not because they're fasting, but because of that single meal. They fast all day, then at night they think, I've fasted all day, now I deserve it. And so the meal turns into a storm. Fried food, sweets, sugary drinks, fast food, eating until you're stuffed. What's the result? Poor sleep that night, tired the next morning, bad mood, stronger cravings. And the cycle begins: fast, compensate, tired, craving, give up. Then people conclude, eating one meal doesn't work. The problem lies in the fact that you turn your single meal into an act of revenge. If there's only one meal, it should be one that helps you stay grounded. Enough protein to maintain muscle mass, enough vegetables to keep your digestive system healthy, enough nutrients to prevent intense cravings, and eaten calmly. That's why some people feel lighter and more in control when they do it right. Others feel miserable and disoriented when they do it wrong. And speaking of disorientation, this is the part I want to address directly. As many videos avoid, eating only one meal a day can trigger psychological problems in some people. If you're someone who easily becomes obsessed with weight, easily becomes extreme with yourself, easily turns everything into a rule, then this model can pull you to the other extreme. You start to see hunger as an achievement. You start to fear eating. You start to think you're good for enduring it. Then, when you do eat, you lose control, and then you hate yourself. If this sounds familiar, stop. Not because you're weak, but because you need a gentler approach. Also, physiologically, there are groups of people who should be extremely careful or shouldn't try this. If you are pregnant or breastfeeding, if you have a history of eating disorders, If you are taking medication that affects blood sugar or blood pressure, if you frequently experience dizziness or low blood pressure, or if you are female and your body is very sensitive to meal, skipping your cycle is easily affected. I'm not saying this to scare you. I'm saying this so you don't follow the trend and ignore your body. Because the goal isn't to become a master of fasting, the goal is to create a rhythm that you can maintain and become healthier. Now for the important part. How do you know if you're adapting well or harming yourself? I'll give you 3 very practical signs. First sign, energy. If after a few days you start to feel more energetic, more focused at work, and less of a crash during the day, that's adaptation. But if you experience prolonged fatigue, rapid heartbeat, shaky hands, and frequent dizziness, that's a sign your body can't handle this rhythm, or you've eaten too little at a single meal. Second sign, sleep. If your sleep improves, or at least doesn't get worse, okay, but if you toss and turn, wake up in the middle of the night, or are constantly stressed and unable to sleep, it's very likely that fasting is increasing your stress and you need to adjust. Third sign, your attitude towards food. If you become less obsessed, eat less mindlessly, and eat consciously when you do, that's a good sign. But if you start to fear food, become obsessed with mealtimes, or experience uncontrolled outbursts at mealtimes, that's a dangerous sign. These 3 signs are enough for you to self-reflect without anyone needing to scare you. And now, I want you to return to the original question. Is eating 1 meal a day the key to unlocking superpowers? I'll answer honestly. It might unlock something more important than superpowers. That is flexibility. The human body wasn't created to eat on a clockwork schedule and panic when a meal is missed. It was created to adapt, to eat, to fast, to exercise, and to rest. When you eat continuously all day, you don't give your body the space to transition. But when you create just enough space, you give your body a chance to recall an ancient rhythm, the rhythm of existence. But that ancient rhythm isn't extreme. Our ancestors didn't fast to lose weight. They fasted because they didn't have food. And when they did have food, they ate, but they ate to live, not to punish or reward themselves. So if you try 1 meal, try it as a decent experiment. Listen, observe, adjust, and stop if it makes you worse. Honestly, sometimes you don't need to eat 1 meal. You just need to eat less often, more cleanly, according to your needs, and less eating out of habit. And before ending the video, I want to leave you with an image. If your body could speak after a long day without many meals, it might not be begging you as much as you think. It might say, "Thank you for letting me rest a little." But it would also remind you, "Don't turn me into a battlefield. I just need you to live in harmony." If you want me to make a sequel, I can make a video right away. How does fasting affect the immune system? When does it make your body stronger? And when does it make you weaker? Now, let me know in the comments. Are you the type who gets irritable when hungry, or the type who stays alert when hungry? And if you've ever tried fasting for a long time, at what time of day do you fall for it?